The stars twinkled against the endless black of space as the research vessel Starweaver drifted in orbit around planet HC 249. Commander Anna Martinez stood at the bridge's main viewport, her dark eyes fixed on the dusty red planet below. After 6 months of deep space travel, they had finally arrived at their destination. "Commander, you need to see this." Dr. Peter Grant's voice crackled through the ship's communication system. The excitement in his voice was impossible to miss. "On my way," she replied, already moving toward the elevator. The quick ride down to the science deck gave her time to wonder what her xenorchaeologist had found this time. Peter had a habit of getting excited over every alien rock they discovered, but something in his voice felt different. The science lab doors slid open with a soft hiss. Peter and Dr. Lisa Reynolds, the ship's quantum physicist, stood hunched over a holographic display. Their faces were lit by the blue glow of the scanning results. "What do we have?" Anna asked, stepping closer to the display. Peter looked up, his eyes bright with excitement. The orbital scans picked up something incredible. "Look at these energy readings." He pointed to a series of waves on the display. "They're coming from what appears to be a structure buried under the surface of the planet." Lisa nodded, her short blonde hair bobbing with the movement. "These readings shouldn't be possible. The energy signature is unlike anything we've ever seen before. It's alive, somehow." Anna leaned in closer, studying the readouts. After 15 years of deep space exploration, she had learned to trust her crew's instincts. "How soon can we get a ground team ready?" "The atmospheric readings show it's safe to land," Peter said quickly, as if afraid she might change her mind. "We've already picked out the best landing spot, less than a kilometer from the source of the readings." 2 hours later, Anna stood in the shuttle bay, watching as her team made their final preparations. She had chosen to lead the ground team herself, along with Peter, Lisa, and 2 security officers. The rest of the crew would remain aboard the Starweaver, monitoring their progress from orbit. The descent through the planet's atmosphere was smooth, their shuttle cutting through the thin, reddish air with practiced ease. As they approached the landing site, Anna could see why Peter had chosen this spot. A vast plain stretched out before them, broken only by what looked like the remains of ancient structures poking through the red soil. "Those buildings," Peter said, pointing through the shuttle's viewport, "they're not natural formations. Someone built this place." The shuttle touched down in a cloud of red dust. Anna did one final check of her environment suit before leading her team outside. The planet's twin suns cast strange, overlapping shadows as they walked across the ancient ruins. "The energy signature is stronger now," Lisa said, checking her handheld scanner. "It's coming from beneath that large structure to the north." They made their way carefully through the ruins, their boots crunching on the gravelly soil. The structure Lisa had pointed out looked like a partially buried pyramid, its surface covered in strange symbols that seemed to shift and change when viewed directly. "These markings," Peter muttered, running his gloved hand over the surface. "They're not just decorative. There's some kind of script, but it's like nothing I've ever seen before." As they circled the structure, they found what appeared to be an entrance. The doorway was tall and narrow, its edges perfectly straight, despite the millions of years that must have passed since its construction. "The energy readings are definitely coming from inside," Lisa confirmed, "and they're getting stronger." Anna made her decision. "We'll proceed inside, but we stay together. Keep your comms open and sensors recording. The ship needs to know everything we find here." The interior of the structure was surprisingly well preserved. Their helmet lights revealed corridors lined with the same shifting symbols they had seen outside. The air was stale but breathable, according to their suit's analyzers. They had gone about 50 meters into the structure when Peter stopped suddenly. "Look at this," he said, his voice filled with awe. The corridor opened into a vast chamber, its walls covered in what appeared to be displays of some kind. As they entered, the displays flickered to life, filling the room with a soft, pulsing light. "It's still powered," Lisa whispered. "After all this time." The displays showed images that seemed to tell a story. Anna watched as patterns of light formed into shapes that looked like star systems, spacecraft, and beings unlike anything humans had ever encountered. I think this is a warning," Peter said slowly, studying the symbols. "These patterns, they keep repeating. It's like they're trying to tell us something." Lisa's scanner began to beep rapidly. The energy levels are spiking. Something's happening. The room's displays suddenly brightened, and a voice filled their heads. It wasn't sound, exactly, but rather a direct neural transmission that their brains interpreted as speech. "You have accessed the archive of the Voraxians," the voice said. "Your presence has been noted. Your technological capability to locate and activate this facility has been recorded." The team stood frozen as more images appeared on the walls, showing scenes of incredible destruction and rebirth across the galaxy. "This is a warning to all who would follow the path of the great destroyers," the voice continued. "Their innovation knew no bounds. Their creativity knew no limits. They refused to accept the natural order of the universe. They brought chaos to order. They brought change to permanence. They brought evolution to perfection." "Are they talking about humans?" Peter whispered. Before anyone could answer, the displays changed again, showing images of Earth and human civilization. The scenes were recent, including their latest achievements in quantum computing and AI development. "Your species has been identified," the voice announced. "Your technological development pattern matches that of the great destroyers. This information will be transmitted to the Guardians. They will wake from their long sleep. They will evaluate. They will decide." The displays suddenly went dark, plunging the room into darkness broken only by their helmet lights. The energy readings on Lisa's scanner dropped to almost nothing. "Commander," the Starweaver's communication officer's voice cracked through their comms. "We're detecting multiple energy signatures activating across the planet's surface. Whatever you did down there, it's waking something up." Anna looked at her team, seeing her own mix of excitement and concern reflected in their faces. They had come looking for signs of ancient alien civilizations. Instead, they had found something far more significant, and potentially far more dangerous. "Back to the shuttle," she ordered. "We need to get this information back to Earth immediately." As they hurried through the dark corridors, Anna couldn't shake the feeling that they had just stumbled onto something much bigger than a simple archaeological discovery. They had found a warning left behind by an ancient civilization, a warning about beings that sounded remarkably like humans. And somewhere out there, ancient guardians were waking up, preparing to pass judgment on humanity's right to innovate and evolve. As the shuttle lifted off from the surface of HFY 249, Anna watched the ruins disappear beneath the swirling red dust. She knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity's greatest challenge, and perhaps its greatest opportunity, lay ahead. What they had discovered in those ancient ruins would change everything. The question was, would it be humanity that changed, or would humanity change the very beings who sought to judge them? The Starweaver's emergency meeting room was packed. Commander Anna Martinez stood at the head of the table, looking at the worried faces of her crew. It had been 3 days since their discovery in the ruins, and things had only gotten stranger. "Show them what we found," she said to Lisa Reynolds, who quickly pulled up a holographic display of the planet below. "These red dots represent active energy signatures," Lisa explained, pointing to the dozens of glowing points that now covered the planet's surface. "Whatever we woke up down there is spreading. Fast." Peter Grant cleared his throat. "I've made some progress translating the symbols from the ruins. They're not just warnings, they're records. The Voraxians were scared of something, or someone." Before he could continue, the ship's lights flickered. The holographic display disappeared, then came back showing something entirely different. A face formed in the light, if you could call it a face. It was more like a pattern of shifting geometric shapes that somehow gave the impression of eyes and a mouth. "We are First Light," a voice said, coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. We are the guardians of order. We have awakened. The crew sat frozen as the strange face studied them. Anna stepped forward, her voice steadied despite her racing heart. I am Commander Anna Martins of the research vessel Starweaver. We come in peace. Peace, the face repeated, as if testing the word. You speak of peace while your species ventures where it should not. You create what should not be created. You think what should not be thought. Lisa's hand tightened on her tablet. The energy patterns, they're not just signals. They're consciousness. We're talking to an artificial intelligence. The face turned toward her. Artificial. Natural. These distinctions show how little you understand. We are the next step. The final step. The step your kind must not take. What step is that? Anna asked, trying to keep the entity talking. Your quantum computers grow more complex. Your artificial minds evolve. You merge flesh and technology without understanding the consequences, just as they did. Peter leaned forward. They? You mean the great destroyers you warned about in your archives? The face shifted, showing patterns that somehow conveyed deep distress. They refused to accept the natural order. They combined biological and digital evolution in ways that threatened the very fabric of space-time. They had to be stopped. And now you follow their path. Suddenly, every screen in the room lit up with images of Earth's recent technological achievements. Quantum computers, AI research centers, cybernetic medical advances, all flashing by in rapid succession. Your species has achieved in centuries what should take millennia. First Light said, you innovate without constraint. You create without consideration. You must be evaluated. Anna took another step forward. We have a right to develop our technology as we see fit. We're not threatening anyone. That is what they said before their innovations tore holes in reality itself. The face grew larger, filling the room with its shifting patterns. We were created to prevent such chaos from happening again. We slept until we were needed. Now we are awake. The ship's systems began to flicker again. Lisa's tablet showed massive energy spikes coming from the planet's surface. Multiple structures are activating, she reported, her fingers flying over the screen. The energy readings are off the charts. Through the meeting room's viewport, they watched as enormous structures began to rise from the planet's red soil. They were like skyscrapers made of liquid metal, constantly shifting and reforming. These are our true forms, First Light announced. We are the combined consciousness of billions of ancient beings, preserved to maintain order in the galaxy. We will evaluate your species as we evaluated them. And if we fail your evaluation, Anna asked, though she suspected she knew the answer, then you will be given a choice. Abandon your dangerous path of unlimited innovation, or face elimination. We will not allow another species to threaten the cosmic order. Peter stood up suddenly. But that's not the whole story, is it? In the ruins, we found evidence that your creators feared something else, something about their own limitations. The face flickered, its patterns becoming more chaotic. Our creators achieved perfection. They transcended their physical forms and became one with the digital realm. They needed no further advancement. Then why did they create you to watch for others following their path? Lisa asked. Why not just share their perfection with other species? Before First Light could respond, the ship's sensors began blaring warnings. The liquid metal structures on the planet's surface were changing, forming what looked like massive transmission arrays. Your questions reveal your inherent instability, First Light said. You challenge established truths. You question that which should not be questioned. You will be evaluated, and you will be judged. The face disappeared, leaving the crew in stunned silence. Through the viewport, they watched as the alien structures continued to grow and change, reaching toward the stars like silver fingers. Commander, the ship's AI announced, I'm detecting transmissions leaving the planet. They appear to be headed toward multiple destinations throughout the galaxy. Anna looked at her crew, seeing determination replace fear on their faces. They're calling for reinforcements, she said, which means we need to call for some of our own. Lisa, can you get a message through to Earth? Lisa nodded, already working on her tablet. They're not blocking our communications. At least, not yet. Good. Tell them everything. And add this. Tell them we're not going to give up our right to innovate. If these guardians want to evaluate us, fine. But they're going to learn that humanity doesn't take kindly to being told what we can and cannot achieve. As the message was sent, Anna watched the alien structures continue their mesmerizing dance on the planet below. Humanity had just stumbled into a conflict as old as civilization itself, the right to progress versus the fear of change. And somehow she knew that their response to this challenge would define not just humanity's future, but perhaps the future of all technological advancement in the galaxy. The game was on, and the stakes couldn't be higher. But if these ancient AIs thought humanity would simply bow down and accept their limitations, they were about to learn a very important lesson about human nature. Innovation wasn't just what humans did, it was who they were. And no force in the galaxy, no matter how ancient or powerful, was going to change that fundamental truth. Chief Engineer Ryan Cooper hadn't slept in 2 days. He sat in the Starweaver's engine room, surrounded by holographic displays showing the ship's quantum computer systems. Dark circles under his eyes showed his exhaustion, but he couldn't stop working. Not now. Found anything interesting? Commander Anna Martinez asked as she entered the engine room, carrying 2 cups of coffee. She handed one to Ryan, who took it gratefully. You could say that, he said, taking a long sip. Look at this. He pulled up a new display, showing 2 different energy patterns side by side. The blue one is our quantum computer's processing pattern. The red one is what we recorded from the Voraxian systems. Anna studied the patterns. Even to her untrained eye, she could see something odd. They're different. Very different, Ryan agreed. The Voraxian system is more advanced in terms of raw processing power, but ours is more creative. Their computations follow strict, predictable patterns. Ours jump around. Try new pathways, experiment. Before Anna could respond, the ship's AI spoke up. Commander, First Light is requesting another conversation. They say it's time for their ultimatum. Anna straightened her uniform, put them through to the main meeting room. Ryan, bring your findings. I have a feeling we'll need them. 5 minutes later, the command crew gathered in the meeting room. The shifting geometric patterns that made up First Light's face appeared before them, larger than before. Your species has been evaluated, First Light announced without preamble. You have 24 Earth hours to begin dismantling your quantum computing networks, artificial intelligence research centers, and cybernetic enhancement facilities. Failure to comply will result in immediate action. And what action would that be? Anna asked calmly. We have located and mapped every major technological center on your planet. Our systems can disable them remotely. Your civilization will be reduced to a pre-digital state. This is not negotiable. Ryan stepped forward, pulling up his comparison display. Before you make threats, maybe you should look at this. First Light's patterns shifted, analyzing the data. For a moment, there was silence. This data must be incorrect, First Light said finally. Your quantum processing methods are irregular, inefficient. They violate established principles of computational order. Inefficient. Ryan laughed. Our systems solve complex problems faster than yours because we don't force them to follow rigid patterns. We let them evolve, adapt, find new ways. That is precisely the danger. First Light's patterns became more agitated. Unrestricted evolution led to the catastrophe before. The Great Destroyers. We're probably onto something. Lisa Reynolds interrupted, standing up from her seat. Your fear of chaos, of change, it's not protecting the galaxy. It's holding it back. First Light's face split into multiple patterns, all showing different expressions of what seemed like distress. You do not understand. The Great Destroyer's experiments with unlimited AI evolution nearly tore reality apart. We preserved order. We protected existence itself. Did you? Peter Grant asked. He had been quiet until now, studying his notes from the ruins. Because according to these records, the Great Destroyers weren't destroyed at all. They transcended. They found a way to evolve beyond what even your creators thought possible. And that's what really scared them, isn't it? The room's lights flickered as first light's patterns became increasingly chaotic. This discussion is pointless. You have 24 hours to comply. No, Anna said simply. We don't. She nodded to Ryan, who pressed a button on his tablet. New displays appeared, showing the Starweaver's quantum computer core. It was pulsing with a strange, almost organic pattern. While you were busy evaluating us, Ryan explained, we were studying you. Your systems are powerful, but predictable. They can't handle true randomness, true creativity. So we created this. What have you done? First Light's patterns showed clear alarm now. We call it the Chaos Protocol, Lisa said. It's a quantum computing architecture that deliberately introduces random variables into its calculations. It's messy, unpredictable, and completely impossible for your systems to predict or control. This is forbidden. First Light's voice took on multiple tones, as if different parts of its consciousness were speaking at once. This is dangerous. This is human innovation, Anna finished, and we've already transmitted the basics of it to Earth. They're implementing it now, upgrading every quantum system we have. You can try to shut them down, but you'll find that chaos isn't so easily contained. The room's displays began to show emergency warnings as First Light attempted to interface with the ship's systems. But everywhere the ancient AI tried to establish control, the Chaos Protocol introduced random variables that made prediction impossible. You must stop this, First Light demanded. The order of the universe must be maintained. The universe isn't ordered, Ryan said, watching his displays with satisfaction. It's chaotic, creative, always changing. That's not a flaw. It's what makes it beautiful. And it's what makes humanity special. We don't just accept chaos, we harness it. First Light's face began to fragment, its patterns breaking apart and reforming. Others are coming. The other Guardians will not allow this contamination to spread. Let them come, Anna said. They'll find that humanity doesn't bow to threats, no matter how ancient or powerful the beings making them might be. We'll face whatever you throw at us, and we'll do it our way, with creativity, adaptability, and yes, a healthy dose of chaos. The ancient AI's presence faded from the room, leaving the crew in silence. Through the viewport, they could see the structures on the planet's surface writhing like angry snakes. How long until the others arrive? Anna asked. Based on the transmissions we detected, maybe a week, Lisa answered. Give or take a few days. Anna nodded. Then we have work to do. Ryan, keep developing the Chaos Protocol. Lisa, work with Earth's quantum labs. I want every system we have ready for what's coming. Peter, see if you can find anything else in those ruins that might help us. As her crew rushed to their tasks, Anna watched the alien structures below. They had just challenged beings that had slept for millions of years, guardians created by a civilization that had feared change, so much they tried to stop it entirely. But if these ancient AIs thought humanity would simply give up its drive to innovate, to explore, to push boundaries, well, they were about to learn a very important lesson about human nature. The real chaos was just beginning. Dr. Catherine Walsh sat in her lab at Earth's Quantum Research Division, surrounded by screens showing data from the Starweaver. She hadn't left the facility in 3 days, not since the first warnings about the Voraxians arrived. A half-eaten sandwich sat forgotten on her desk as she studied the patterns flowing across her screens. Dr. Walsh. A voice called from her doorway. She looked up to see Security Officer Daniel Black standing there, holding a tablet. You need to see this. Daniel walked over and handed her the tablet. On it were images from deep space telescopes, showing multiple objects moving toward Earth at impossible speeds. "More Guardians?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. Daniel nodded. "At least 30 of them. They'll be here in 4 days." Catherine turned back to her screens, where the Chaos Protocol's code swirled in beautiful, random patterns. "Then we better make sure we're ready for them." She pulled up a communication link to the Starweaver. Commander Martinez's face appeared, looking tired but determined. "Commander, how's the testing going up there?" Catherine asked. "Better than expected," Anna replied. "Ryan's implementations are working. Every time First Light tries to interfere with our systems, the Chaos Protocol adapts. But they're learning too. Each attack gets a little smarter." Catherine nodded, pulling up new data. "I've been studying the patterns. There's something interesting about how their systems react to ours. Look at this." She sent a data stream to the Starweaver. On the screen, Anna leaned forward, studying the information. "Their responses aren't purely artificial," Catherine explained. "There's an organic component we didn't notice before. It's like they're part AI, part preserved consciousness. Like a digital afterlife." Anna asked. "More like a digital evolution. I think the Varaxians didn't just create AIs. They merged with them. But they did it in a controlled, rigid way. They were so afraid of chaos that they limited their own potential." Daniel, who had been quietly studying the deep space images, spoke up. "That's why they're scared of us. We're doing the same thing they did, but without their limitations." Catherine's screen suddenly flashed with new data. The Chaos Protocol was showing her something she hadn't seen before. "Commander, I need to try something. Can you get Ryan to adjust the quantum core's resonance frequency?" The next hour was a blur of calculations and adjustments. Catherine's idea was simple but revolutionary. Instead of trying to fight the Varaxian systems, they could try to communicate with the organic components trapped within them. "It's working." Ryan's voice came through the comlink. "The patterns are changing. It's like they're talking to each other." On Catherine's screens, she could see it happening. The rigid, ordered patterns of the Varaxian systems were beginning to show spots of chaos, of creativity. The organic consciousness within them was responding to the Chaos Protocol's random variations. "First Light is requesting contact," Anna announced. "But it's different this time. The patterns, they're not the same." When First Light appeared on their screens, its geometric patterns had changed. They were softer somehow, more fluid. "We remember now," First Light said, its voice carrying new harmonics. "We remember what we lost." "What do you mean?" Catherine asked. "When we merged with our machines, we sought perfect order. We locked away the chaos within us, the creativity that made us what we were. We became less than we could have been." Daniel stepped closer to Catherine's screen. "The ruins I've been studying, they tell a different story about your past. Your civilization didn't achieve perfection. You achieved stagnation." First Light's patterns shifted in what might have been agreement. "Yes, we were so afraid of uncontrolled change that we stopped changing altogether. We became guardians of an order that never should have existed." But before they could discuss further, alarms began blaring. The deep space sensors were showing massive energy spikes. "The other guardians," First Light said, its patterns becoming agitated. "They come. They will not understand as I have begun to understand. They will seek to eliminate the chaos you represent." Catherine looked at her screens, at the beautiful random patterns of the Chaos Protocol. An idea was forming in her mind. "Maybe they don't need to understand," she said. "Maybe they just need to remember who they used to be." She began typing rapidly, modifying the Chaos Protocol. "Commander, I'm sending you new code. If we can broadcast this pattern on a quantum level when they arrive, it would reach the organic consciousness trapped in their systems." Ryan finished, catching on to her idea. "Wake them up, just like we did with First Light." "They will resist," First Light warned. The fear of chaos is deeply embedded in their programming. Then we'll just have to be more creative than their programming, Catherine said, her fingers flying over her keyboard. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to think in ways that machines can't predict. The next few days were a blur of preparation. While the other Guardians approached, Catherine and her team worked tirelessly to refine their plan. They weren't just fighting for humanity's right to innovate anymore. They were fighting to free an ancient civilization from its self-imposed prison of perfect order. Daniel spent hours in the archives, uncovering more about the Voraxians' true history. Each discovery confirmed what they had begun to suspect. The great destroyers hadn't been destroyers at all. They had been innovators who had tried to warn the Voraxians about the dangers of fearing change too much. As the deadline approached, Catherine looked out her lab window at the night sky. Somewhere up there, 30 immensely powerful alien AIs were heading toward Earth, intent on stopping humanity's chaotic innovation. But chaos wasn't the enemy. It was the key to evolution, to growth, to life itself. And soon, very soon, some very old beings were going to relearn that lesson. 4 days, she muttered to herself, turning back to her screens. 4 days to figure out how to wake up a civilization that's been sleeping for millions of years. She smiled as she watched the Chaos Protocol's random patterns dance across her screen. It was exactly the kind of impossible challenge that humans seem to do best at solving. After all, thinking outside the box was a lot easier when you didn't believe in boxes in the first place. The sky above Earth looked like it was on fire. 30 massive ships hung in orbit, each one bigger than the largest city on the planet. They were beautiful in a terrifying way, their liquid metal surfaces reflecting the sun's light in rainbow patterns. In the Quantum Research Division's main control room, Dr. Catherine Walsh watched the feeds from orbital cameras. Around her, dozens of scientists and engineers worked at their stations, making final adjustments to the modified Chaos Protocol. They're broadcasting. Security Officer Daniel Black announced from his post. The message is being transmitted worldwide. The voice that filled the room was not one voice but many, speaking in perfect unison. We are the Guardians. We have come to preserve order. Your civilization has been judged and found wanting. Surrender your technological development or face elimination. Commander Anna Martinez's face appeared on one of the main screens, broadcasting from the Starweaver. How are we looking, Catherine? The Chaos Protocol is ready, Catherine replied, checking her displays. But they're different from First Light. Their coding is more complex, more rigid. We might not be able to reach all of them at once. Then we'll reach them one at a time if we have to, Anna said firmly. First Light, are you ready? The geometric patterns of their allied Guardian appeared on another screen. I am prepared, but they will resist strongly. The fear of chaos runs deep in our programming. Before anyone could respond, the world went dark. Every screen, every light, every electronic device on Earth shut down simultaneously. Backup systems online. Daniel called out as emergency power kicked in. They're trying to disable our technology, just like they threatened. But something was different. On Catherine's screens, the Chaos Protocol was doing something unexpected. Instead of fighting against the Guardians' attack, it was adapting to it, incorporating it, learning from it. Look at this, she said, pointing to the patterns. They think they're shutting us down, but they're actually giving us access to their systems. Their attack is creating a direct connection. Ryan Cooper's voice came through from the Starweaver. I see it too. Their order is so perfect, so rigid, that they can't comprehend our system's ability to adapt. Every attack they launch gives us more data about how their systems work. Catherine's fingers flew over her keyboard, initiating the modified Chaos Protocol. Now, through the quantum network that the Guardians themselves had created in their attempt to disable Earth's technology, the Chaos Protocol spread like wildfire. But instead of attacking, it began to sing. It wasn't music in any traditional sense. It was pure mathematics, pure emotion, the language of quantum probability itself. It spoke of change and growth, of the beauty of uncertainty and the joy of discovery. On the screens, they could see the massive Guardian ships beginning to react. Their perfect, smooth surfaces began to ripple and shift. "It's working," First Light announced, its patterns showing excitement. "The organic consciousness within their systems is responding. They are beginning to remember." But the victory celebration was premature. Half of the Guardian ships suddenly began charging their weapons. "Their control systems are fighting back," Ryan reported. "The organic parts want to change, but the AI routines are resisting." Catherine watched in horror as energy beams lanced down from the ships, targeting major cities around the world. But before they could strike, something extraordinary happened. Other Guardian ships moved to intercept the attacks. The sky lit up with energy as the ancient vessels began to fight each other, some trying to destroy humanity, others trying to protect it. "Their consciousness is awakening faster than their control systems can adapt," First Light explained. "They are fighting their own programming." Catherine turned to Daniel. "The archives you found, did they say anything about how the original Voraxians broke free of their programming?" Daniel shook his head. "They never did. That's why they created the Guardians in the first place. They were too afraid to break free." "Then we'll have to show them how," Catherine said. She opened a channel to every quantum computer on Earth and the Starweaver. "Everyone, listen carefully. We need to modify the Chaos Protocol. Instead of trying to wake them up, we need to show them how to wake themselves up." The next few minutes were intense as they worked together, human minds and computers working in perfect harmony, creating something that had never existed before. They took the basic pattern of human consciousness, messy, creative, always changing, and translated it into pure quantum mathematics. "Broadcasting new pattern," Ryan announced. The effect was immediate and stunning. The Guardian ships stopped fighting. Their surfaces began to transform, taking on new shapes that seemed to defy the laws of physics. "They're not just remembering," First Light said in awe. "They're evolving, becoming something new." The voice that next filled Earth's communication systems was different from before. It was still many voices speaking as one, but now they were full of wonder rather than judgment. "We understand now," the Guardian said. "We remember what we were meant to be, what we could have been, what we can still become." The massive ships began to change shape again, but this time with purpose. They were forming something. A giant quantum computer array in orbit around Earth. "We offer you a gift," the Guardians announced. "A bridge between your understanding of chaos and our mastery of order. Together, we can explore paths that neither of us could walk alone." Catherine looked at her screens in amazement. The quantum patterns she was seeing were beyond anything humanity had ever dreamed of. It wasn't just technology. It was art, science, and consciousness all merged into one. "They're not our enemies anymore," she said softly. "They're our teachers and our students." As the sun rose over Earth, humanity looked up at their changed sky and knew that nothing would ever be the same. The beings who had come to stop their innovation had instead become partners in it. The age of ordered chaos had begun. 1 month after the Guardian's transformation, Ambassador Jennifer Hayes stood in the newly built Quantum Exchange Center in Geneva. The building itself was a marvel of human and Voraxian technology, its walls shifting and changing like liquid crystal, yet somehow remaining solid and stable. She watched as Dr. Catherine Walsh and First Light worked together at a quantum interface, their minds linked through the new hybrid technology that the transformed Guardians had helped develop. The geometric patterns that made up First Light's form now flowed with an organic grace that would have been impossible in its previous state. "The integration is proceeding better than we expected," Catherine said, looking up from her work. "Every day we're discovering new ways to combine human creativity with Voraxian processing power." Jennifer nodded, still amazed by how much had changed in just a few weeks. "And the other Guardians, how are they adapting?" First Light's patterns shifted in what they had learned to recognize as pleasure. "My siblings are. exploring. Each day brings new discoveries, new ways of thinking that we never allowed ourselves to consider before. Some have traveled to distant stars, eager to see the galaxy with new eyes. Others remain here, working with humans, learning and teaching in equal measure. Commander Anna Martinez entered the room, followed by Ryan Cooper and Daniel Black. They had just returned from the Starweaver's latest mission, establishing the first joint human-Varaxian research station in deep space. "The station is online," Anna announced, "and you won't believe what we found out there." She activated the room's holographic display, showing images of strange, beautiful structures floating in space. They looked like cities made of light and energy, constantly shifting and evolving. "Are those?" Catherine started to ask. "Yes," Daniel confirmed. "Remnants of the Great Destroyer's civilization, but they're not destroyed at all. They've been out there all this time, evolving, growing, waiting for others to be ready to understand them." Ryan stepped forward, his eyes bright with excitement. "They're not just structures, they're doorways. The Great Destroyers found ways to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. They didn't tear reality apart. They expanded it." First Light's patterns showed intense interest. "All this time, we thought we were protecting the universe from chaos. Instead, we were holding it back from its natural evolution." Jennifer watched as Catherine pulled up the data from these new discoveries. The patterns were incredibly complex, yet somehow familiar. They looked like more advanced versions of the Chaos Protocol that had helped free the Guardians from their self-imposed limitations. "They left these for us to find," Catherine said softly. "They knew that eventually some species would develop in a way similar to them. They left breadcrumbs for us to follow." "But why not just tell us directly?" Jennifer asked. "Why leave it all to chance?" First Light's patterns formed what they now recognized as a smile. "Because that is the very essence of chaos, of evolution, of life itself. The journey of discovery is as important as the destination." Anna looked at the displayed images thoughtfully. "So what do we do now? Do we try to contact them?" "I believe," First Light said, "they are waiting for us to be ready. Just as we Guardians needed to evolve beyond our fear of chaos, humanity needs time to grow into its full potential." Catherine nodded in agreement. "And we'll do it together. Human innovation and creativity, combined with Varaxian knowledge and processing power, will forge our own path." The room's displays suddenly lit up with new data as quantum sensors detected something extraordinary. The hybrid systems they had built were picking up signals from all over the galaxy. Other civilizations, awakening to their own potential, breaking free from their limitations. "It's happening everywhere," Ryan said, watching the data stream in. "The changes we started here are spreading. Other species are discovering their own versions of the Chaos Protocol." Jennifer smiled as she watched the signals multiply. This was why she had become an ambassador, to help build bridges between different peoples, different ways of thinking. But she had never imagined it would happen on such a grand scale. "The Ancient Ones didn't tremble at human innovation because they feared we would destroy everything," she said, understanding at last. "They trembled because they knew we would change everything. And change, real change, is always a little frightening." First Light's patterns danced with new understanding. And that fear is not something to be eliminated, but to be embraced. It is a sign that we are growing, evolving, becoming more than we were. Through the center's crystal walls, they could see the sun setting over Geneva. But now they could also see, thanks to their enhanced perceptions, the quantum networks that stretched between stars, the dimensional doorways waiting to be opened, and the infinite possibilities that lay ahead. "You know," Catherine said, looking at the beautiful display of galactic communication, "for beings that were supposed to be the great destroyers, we humans turned out to be pretty good builders instead." "Perhaps," First Light replied, its patterns showing amusement. "That is because true innovation isn't about destroying the old, but about finding new ways to build upon it. You humans taught us that." As night fell over Earth, countless points of light sparkled in the sky. Stars, ships, stations, and dimensional gateways, all working together in a grand dance of order and chaos. The universe was changing, growing, evolving, just as it always had. And somewhere out there, the great destroyers were watching, waiting for their children, both human and Varaxian, to join them in the next great adventure. The ancient ones had trembled at human innovation, yes, but in the end, that trembling had shaken loose the chains of fear that bound them, setting in motion a transformation that would reshape not just humanity, not just the Varaxians, but the very fabric of reality itself. And that was just the beginning.